Hello Internet, so nice to see you. Today I want to show you how to change key using a chord sequence. If you do not know what a chord sequence is, do not worry, I'm going to show you a simple one, and so we can start doing this immediately. If you do know what chord sequences are, then later you can substitute any other chord sequence you know to this and it will still work beautifully. And this is a big topic because there are so many possible chord sequences and so many possible ways of using them and so many possible keys that you can change to that, I mean, it's impossible to play all the possibilities. And that's great because you can create your own. So follow me and we'll do it. Now, the first thing we need to know is a chord sequence. I'm going to show you a very, very simple chord sequence that I found on a Baroque manual by Francesco Durante, who lived in the 1700s. And the sequence is there, very unassuming, it's just a bass line with a few numbers on top, okay? Of course, I'm going to show it to you completely realized on guitar. So the idea is this. So this chord sequence will start in C major, and I'm going to first do it completely in C major, starting from the C major chord in the key of C major, okay? Later we're going to modify this and we're going to use it to change key. But first, let me give you the simple example, okay? The chord sequence works this way. We start with a C major chord. To start the sequence, I'm going to raise the fifth note of the C chord, which is the G, up to the A, okay? What I'm obtaining is technically an A minor chord in first inversion, but as you're gonna see later, it's best if we don't name every single chord in this, otherwise we'll go crazy. So, my first chord is C major, and then I play this. At this point, I enter the sequence in earnest, and what I do is that I alternate pushing down two notes and then one note of this chord. So, at the beginning I push down the two lowest notes. So the C note and the E note will go down respectively to the B note and the D note, but I'm leaving the A where it is, and I obtain this chord here. And then later, I'm moving only the top note down a step in the scale, so from the A note to the G note. And then I keep doing that. First I lower the bottom two notes, then I lower the top note. Then I lower the bottom two notes. Then the top note. And then the bottom two notes. Then the top note. And the bottom two note. Then the top note. And the bottom two note. Then the top note. Arrive at this point, I'm just playing a C chord. And this ends the sequence. Now, why I ended the sequence here? Well, first of all, because my ear tells me we are done, okay, so I know what chord comes. But if you want a more formal reason, is because the last chord I played here contains the note D, F, and B. It's a diminished chord, a diminished triad in first inversion. The diminished triad is B, D, F, and here I have the D at the base. Whenever in this sequence you find a diminished triad in first inversion, it's going to happen often, as you see. That's one of the possible exit points in this sequence. Another possible exit point is when you find the equivalent of a dominant chord without a fifth. This, for instance, happened in our sequence here when I was playing these. The notes here are G, B, F. This is like a G7th chord without the fifth, which would be D. Whenever you find one of those two chords, that's an exit point in the sequence, and from there you can go to the root note of the key. So I could run this sequence only up to this chord here, and then play a C chord. And it will end there. How do we use this sequence to change key? Because that's where the great sound is. Well, let's try to go from the key of C to the key of G. So I want to first make sure I know what are the notes of difference. And in this case, in the key of G, rather than having an F, I have an F sharp. Great. So I want to start playing this sequence in C. And then whenever in the original sequence I have an F note, I have the option of transforming this F note into an F sharp. And this regardless of where this F note is, if it's at the base, at the top, in the middle, regardless of what is the chord that contains this F note, and regardless what chord appears when I change it to an F sharp. I don't have to label all those chords. I can just play them. Okay? So every time I have the option, I can do it or I can not do it. But if I do it, now I am in the key of G. And then I'm keep going on with the sequence until I find an exit point. And you're going to see in this case, I'm going to find an exit point immediately. So this is what's going to happen. And now, rather than playing these, that would be the normal thing I would play in C major, I'm playing these because I changed this F note to an F sharp note. So it will sound this way. At this point, I am in the key of G, but I haven't finished my job because I want to end on a G chord. And I notice, though, that I'm already at an exit point, because this chord I just played here contains the note A, C, and F sharp. That's an F sharp diminished triad. So after that, I can just play a G chord, and I'm done. So the whole thing sounds this way. And now I'm in the key of C major. Boom, done. Could I have done something different? Yes, I could have kept going. I could have maybe not changed this F to an F sharp. Again, I have the option of doing it, but I'm not compelled to do it. And then I could change it later. So it would have gone down this way. So in this case, I kept this F on the second string natural, but when I hit another F on the fourth string, I made it F sharp. There, I'm already at an exit point, if you want, because what I'm playing is a D chord, because the notes are D, are F sharp, A, and D, D, F sharp, and A. It's the fifth of the key of G, so I could just follow it with a G chord. Notice I could have navigated that little part in also a slightly different way. I could have done this way. Attention, that's a bit more sophisticated. So what happened there? When I meet this F note on the fourth string, the first chord I play, I keep the F natural. Then, on the second chord I play an F sharp instead, and then I go straight to the G chord. So that's another possibility, and which one of those three possibilities you like depends on you, depends on which one you like best. Again, you could have done many different things. The thing is, at a certain point, you just change the note. It can be the first time you hit the note, the second time you hit the note, and so on and so forth. Let's see a different example, okay? Let's move from C major to F major. The notes of difference here is B, B flat. You have a natural B in C major, and you have a B flat in F major. As you see, I have to continue a little bit the sequence because I'm not at an exit point when I hit the B flat. And so I need to keep going on until I find something that naturally leads me to the F major chord. But at that point, I am already in the key of F. Now, you may find this a bit too abrupt, so another solution would be to not touch the natural B on this chord, but instead get the B flat much later when it is on the third string on a later chord. So it will sound this way. Which one you like best? Completely up to you. Now, of course, I can also move to a minor key. Okay, so for instance, let's see what happens if I move from the key of C major to the key of E minor. Now, what are the notes of difference? That's a trick question, by the way, because the notes of difference, if you just look at E natural minor, you'll have only an F sharp. But that's not enough. The minor key, when you think minor key here, we are actually thinking harmonic minor, not natural minor. So in the key of E minor, harmonic minor, we have two notes of difference with respect to C major, the F sharp and the D sharp. What do? I can change one first and the other later, or I can change them both at the same time, depending on what I get and the sounds I like. And I can get some very dissonant chords by changing only one and not the other for a while, but by the end of the sequence, you have to have changed both those notes. So for instance, here's a possibility. Now notice I have also the option of running all these not only using the harmonic minor scale, but using the melodic minor if it sounds better to my ear. And again, I can use the melodic minor even going down. So have a listen to this more dissonant option that uses the melodic minor and tell me if you like it. Okay, so now you have some examples on how to use this. The idea again is you start with a chord sequence, okay, and I've shown you one, and then you gradually morph the chord sequence into the new key by changing the notes of difference between one key to the other. And whenever you hit the fifth chord of the key or the seventh chord of the key, so you have the dominant chord in some one way or another, or the seventh chord of the key, that's your exit point, and then you go straight to the tonic chord of the new key. Now, the real difficulty in working all those sequences and all those key changes is that you need to be really familiar with the keys, the spelling of all the keys, the fretboard where you find all those notes, and so because you don't have to think too much about where is the next note in that key, because if you start thinking too much, well, it's gonna be long. I mean, you cannot spend an afternoon in doing one of the sequences. You should be able to do them in nearly real time. When I was recording this video, I didn't write down those examples. I was literally working them in real time on my guitar when I was explaining you. There are many ways to go about it, but honestly, the best way I could recommend is to take my course, Complete Chord Mastery, because in there I can show you exactly where all the triads are, how to memorize them, how to see them on the fretboard, how to connect them. Everything becomes much easier if you take that course and do all the exercises in it. Complete Chord Mastery, it's not a book. It's a complete video course that takes you from the basics up. We do everything you need to know about harmony and chords on your guitar. All the theory is done straight on the fretboard. There is no theory for the sake of theory here. Everything is immediately practical, and everything is developed through exercises, so you know how to apply these immediately on your guitar. If you have just a minute, click on the link on the top right to check out Complete Chord Mastery. If you like this video, smash on that like button and don't forget to subscribe and click on notification, otherwise YouTube will not let you know when I put up a new video. And if you have any comment, feedback, suggestions, write them down in the comment. I enjoy reading from you, and I make videos on your suggestions. This is Tommaso Zillia of musictheoryforguitar.com, and until next time, enjoy!